this 2.7 EcoBoost F150 P0507 means the PCM is seeing the engine idle higher than the idle speed it wants. The driver may notice a high idle, a hanging idle, or just a check engine light. Broadly, this can come from unmetered air, an intake restriction or damage issue, a PCV leak, or an electronic throttle control concern. Treat this as a technician-level diagnostic. Start with the basic system checks. Follow a structured diagnostic approach, and if other codes are present, check what they mean first before chasing P0507 by itself. Once P0507 is identified as the idle control code you are working, use the idle air diagnostic routine for that code. Begin by checking DTCs. If P0507 is the idle control code you are working, continue into the idle air diagnostic path. If the scan shows other codes that point outside this idle air direction, do not ignore them. Handle those first. Next, start the engine and check base idle. The vehicle must be at operating temperature and at idle for a minimum of 1 minute. Use the scan tool to access the PCM and monitor the RPM PID. Then decide whether the actual idle speed is correct for the typical reference value. If the idle speed is correct, move ahead to the intake air system inspection. If the idle speed is not correct, check for vacuum leaks next. When the base idle is not correct, listen for vacuum leaks and inspect the intake air path from the MAF sensor to the intake manifold. Look for a cracked or punctured intake air tube, loose connections at the air cleaner housing or throttle body, gasket leaks at the intake side, EGR-related leak points, and vacuum supply connectors and hoses. A high idle may point you toward a vacuum leak, so be thorough here. If a leak is found, repair it as necessary. Clear the PCM DTCs and repeat the self-test. If no vacuum leak is found, continue to the intake air system checks. Turn the ignition off, remove the air cleaner element, and check the air cleaner for restrictions. Then check for restrictions between the air inlet and the throttle body. If the intake air system has a concern, remove the restriction or install a new air cleaner element as called for by the finding. Then clear the PCM DTCs and repeat the self-test. If no concern is found, reinstall the air cleaner element and continue. Next, check the PCV system for leaks. If a PCV system concern is present, repair it as necessary. Clear the PCM DTCs and repeat the self-test. If there is no PCV system concern, move on to the next idle air check. Turn the ignition on and check whether any other DTCs are present outside the expected idle air group. If there are other codes, diagnose those first instead of forcing the P0507 direction. If the only code left is P0507 and the earlier intake, vacuum, and PCV checks did not find a concern, do not jump to a part. Pause. Recheck the earlier diagnostic path and avoid guessing. When the direction is clear with no other codes to address, continue to the intake-related PID check. For the PID check, verify the engine coolant is at 77 degrees C, 170 degrees F, then let the engine idle an additional 5 minutes. In the PCM, monitor the ECT PID, the ECT1 PID, and the etc. trim PID. Be aware that all PIDs may not be available on all vehicles. The key decision here is the etc. trim angle. If etc. trim is equal to 3.5 degrees, install a new throttle body assembly. Clear the PCM DTCs and repeat the self-test. If etc. trim is not equal to 3.5 degrees, move into symptom-based testing for further direction. Keep verification separate from testing. After any repair called out by this diagnostic routine, clear the PCM DTCs, repeat the self-test, and confirm the code stays gone. The takeaway is simple. P0507 is an idle speed command versus response problem, so prove the idle condition, eliminate unmetered air and intake or PCV problems first, then use the throttle trim check only after those basics are clean. For more diagnostic training, visit stepdiagnostics.com.